to have this. So I'll go ahead and start. Welcome to the agriculture session for Eastern Iowa Community College Career Day. My name is Carrie Hansen, and I am the Muscatine Community College Admissions and Outreach Coordinator.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey King and I serve as the admissions coordinator at our Scott Community College campus, and I'm just helping to moderate the session today.
Awesome, great. Looks like we have another student on. Hello, welcome to the session. We're just getting started. We want to welcome you. Students, if you have any questions at all, go ahead and put them in the chat box, and Kelsey and I will help moderate them if the instructors don't see them. So first, I will have our three instructors introduce themselves, tell a little bit about yourself, and then we've got a teeny short video to watch. So Julia, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So hi guys, welcome. Thank you for coming today. My name is Julia Dieckman. I am one of the agriculture instructors at Muscatine Community College, part of Eastern Iowa Community College. I have taught there for 7 years. I do a lot of the agronomy-based classes, so seeds, soils, grain, crops, things like that. I have also taught kind of classes over a whole bunch of topics though, so ag law or animal science. I taught high school agriculture for a few years as well. I currently live on a family farm and kind of help my parents and grandparents do row crop production, and have grown up with lots of different livestock as well. So that's a little bit of my ag background specifically.
All right, Shane, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. My name is Mairet. I'm a brand new instructor here in the ag department for EICC. I teach the turf and landscape and new hemp courses. So my background is I grew up on a family farm here in Iowa in the area, and I currently own and operate a specialty crop farm down in Muscatine. So I'm still engaged in agriculture, and I teach the courses too.
Awesome. Jayln.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Jalen Parker, and I am also an instructor here on the Muscatine campus within our ag department. I too came from a family farm, row crop operation, showed cattle, did FFA, 4-H, the whole thing. And now here I am teaching at Muscatine here in the ag department. I also actually graduated from MCC. In what was then called their feed and fertilizer marketing program. Now it's called agribusiness management. So very excited to be here, very passionate about the program. I teach a lot of the social skills and sales courses that go into your programs, as well as a few of like record keeping and management courses as well. So very excited to be here and tell you all about our great opportunities at MCC Ag.
Great, thank you so much. I was going to show this video. Oh, here we go. There's my share screen. It's like that disappeared. So this is not even a minute. So okay, just a short video, and we'll start our career discussion. So any of our instructors can start, but will you talk about, at least in your field, what is a day in the life like on the job in the ag field?
I can jump in and start on that. I'm going to kind of cover a few different things first. So Carrie, so we are not addressing, the job specifically as agriculture instructors today. We can talk about it from a number of ag perspectives. Obviously, it's going to totally depend on the ag field that you go into. So in agriculture, you can work in production, which would mean you're, working in the field, working with crops, working with livestock. You could be on a research side, you could be in a sales and marketing side, you could work in an office, you could work at a co-op. I mean, there's endless amounts of career options within the agricultural industry. So that is a very hard question to answer for what is a day of, like every day. Do the students have any specific careers they'd like to learn about in agriculture that we could address that question to, if that makes sense? Is there a specific ag career that we could make that answer a little bit more informational for?
Students, feel free to unmute yourself if you have a specific ag field you'd like to work in.
Maybe I'm throwing everybody off and this isn't supposed to be a participation session today, but okay, then I'll just jump in and kind of say it's going to, of course, vary entirely in agriculture. So it's very seasonal for certain positions. In the spring and the fall, at least in Iowa, your agricultural hours might be a lot more because we have planting and harvesting at that time. So if you're in row crop operation or if you're working in an elevator situation, then you're going to be kind of working some longer hours at that point. And it could be inside, it could be outside, totally weather related. There are other agricultural jobs though that are just, a 9-to-5 office position. And so it would just vary based on the task that you're given.
Shane, can you talk a little bit about what a day in the life is running your business and in that kind of area, if any of the students are interested in that?
So kind of like Julia said, even in my farm, every day is different. And that's what I enjoy about it. So during the harvest season, which for me runs July through October, we usually start between 6 and 7. We start getting everything out of the fields. We tend to be done by 2 o'clock on harvesting, and then it's all about prepping for the next day and getting stuff ready for customers. So my business, we're a grower retailer. So I grow the crop and then I turn around and retail it. So we got both different sides there that we work in. So the morning spent picking, then my afternoons usually spent on the retail side, getting things ready for customers and making sure everything's ready for them. But again, that varies from season to season, day to day. Obviously, we get everything planted, we get everything harvested. We have to do a lot of weeding. In specialty crops and mostly fruit and vegetable production, it's a lot of manual labor. So we're hand weeding and stuff like that. We use machinery when we can, but there's not a lot of machinery to be used in that part of it. Where production row crop, there's a ton of machinery and you can spend all day on a tractor. So it really varies, even just on my farm, what I do every day. But that's kind of a gist of it.
Thank you. Jayln, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the agriculture fields that Muscatine offers and what kind of jobs, any of you can pop into, what kind of jobs you can get from those fields?
Sure. Yeah. So the opportunities are limitless. And I don't mean to make that sound like a cliche, but it really honestly is. And just speaking from the experiences that our graduates have had, like the different careers that they have pursued. Just like how Julia was saying, like there's opportunities anywhere from, operating equipment to working in an office setting to, being a financial officer, working for yourself, working for your own production. It's really up to you and whatever your goals and aspirations are. Now, with our wide variety of programs that we have here at MCC Ag, I mean, we have our very common, very tried and true programs, agribusiness management and farm management, which includes a learning internship or a learning experience every single semester while you're a part of that program, which also really affords the students an opportunity to kind of go out there and check things out on their own. But then we also have other really great, focuses and other majors like the turf and landscape, the industrial hemp, if you're interested in hopping on that bandwagon here in Iowa, since it was just legalized not too long ago. We have, precision focus, if that's something that you're interested in, as well as, animal science courses that you could take from beef to sheep to swine. Really the opportunity is up to you. I could sit here talking all day long about what the different things we could do are, but really what matters is, what do you want to do? What do you want to get out of the industry? Like what problems do you want to solve? Where can your passions and your skills best be applied in the industry? And let me tell you, we're needing people in the industry. Like that's a tried and true thing, that we need more and more people to be engaged in the agriculture field. So in regards to what we can do to get you there, the possibilities are endless. If you have an interest, we can either get you set up in a class for it, or an internship for it, or a major or a focus for it. So it's up to you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Julia, do you have anything to add with education? And at that point, can you talk a little bit about your education path to agriculture fields? I know you said you grew up on a farm, you're living on a farm. What kind of education paths do students need to have?
Right, so that will vary as well, but kind of a basic. So obviously through Muscatine Community College, we offer an associate's degree in those different majors that Jayln just covered. And students, I would say there's a very high demand for students with an associate's in agriculture. So some of the jobs that these students are getting is they're coming in and they're doing operations, which means they are working on equipment, they're being applicators, maybe they're doing some sales and marketing of the product. So if you didn't like so much the hands-on outside, weather varying career, maybe you might be marketing one of the livestock options or marketing some of the grain, and those positions are open for this. Maybe you kind of like office management, and so you want to do billing or accounting or, tickets and billing and dispersing. Those are types of careers you can do with an associate's degree as well. For animal production, you can work in really any animal production unit. So maybe that is swine production and you want to work on the farrowing side. Maybe it's a beef production and you want to work for a feedlot. An associate's degree can get you jobs within those positions. Generally, you're not going to start out in a management position. You would probably be able to work into that with an associate's degree, however. So right now we're in education. Because I taught high school agriculture, I did need a bachelor's degree. So I went to Iowa State and I got a degree in public administration, and then I got a master's in ag education. I actually started out wanting to work in extension work with like 4-H programs and things like that. And a lot of those public institutions require you to have some sort of bachelor's degree, which is why I pursued that. We do have students that technically, if you have an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, you can teach certain things in certain fields. So to work at the community college in agriculture, you would just need a bachelor's degree. That would allow you to teach here. Same thing for secondary agriculture. If you want to work in a high school, you could have a degree in education for that. Although I teach agronomy classes, so the soils, seed, etc. If you wanted to be like a licensed agronomist and provide feedback to farmers, be hired by a company, so let's say Corteva or Syngenta or Liquigrow, any company that you're working with, maybe it's River Valley, most of those will have bachelor's degrees at least, if not a master's degree in agronomy, to kind of give that research side of things. So that's a little bit on that side of education.
Great. Shane, do you want to talk a little bit about your education path? I know it's a little bit different than the others.
Yeah, so mine's a little different. I started off getting really interested in horticulture. So I went to Iowa State, did get my bachelor's degree in horticulture with a minor in business, and then started my own company. And about 12 years later, this opportunity came about. So I only have a bachelor's, and that's how I kind of got into education, is when we started the turf and landscape program here at Muscatine Community College. They were looking for somebody with a horticulture degree, and I happened to fit that bill. So that's kind of how I got in here. But I do only have a bachelor's. And it works just fine for me.
And a plethora of hands-on experience too.
Yes. And that's always a big thing. In agriculture, your degree is important, but the reason you can go so far with an associate's degree is because everybody values that hands-on knowledge and those skills you build in that. Not that, the classroom education is not important, because it definitely is. But that's why we do so many internships in the ag program, is because those hands-on skills are very, very important.
Jayln, can you talk a little bit about the job students can get if they decide to pursue an associate's degree and nothing further beyond that? Because I know a lot of our students do that and don't have that desire to do a bachelor's degree, but they're still going very far, and some of the careers they can have in that.
Yeah, definitely. We've had students, like I said, go back and produce on their own family farms. Actually, we have quite a few senior sophomores who are going to be graduating, who are planning on going back and doing some really amazing things on their family farms. And these are from, wide variety of livestock, row crop, methods of production, et cetera. So I think we have a little bit of everything for everybody, or a little bit of something for everybody that they can take away from the program in that regards. Some other great career opportunities that are out there. Just thinking of some of our graduates right now. We have a student who is going to, or a graduate who's going to be going and working for the USDA in the FSA office, working on the kind of the office administration side of things in the ag world. We have quite a few students who have gone and worked for retail agribusinesses, like Julia mentioned before. So we have like places like Liquid Grow, River Valley Cooperative, Nutrien, are all great places that our students go to work, whether it's driving machinery and spraying, getting that applicator's license, which you can also get while you're here at MCC. We actually have the testing center here in our building on the second floor. So you guys will actually be taking the exam, or could take the exam, to actually obtain your applicator's license while you're here, making you even that much more employable. But then also, in those retail agribusinesses, they could also do things such as accounting. We've had students go straight into sales and work in sales, from agronomy sales, such as, seed and chemical, to, students going directly and working for a seed dealer. So working for places like Pioneer in sales that way. We've also had a multitude of students go and work for different dealerships. We have an ag equipment technician program for those of you who are really interested in tinkering or working with your hands, working on go-karts or lawnmowers or trucks or whatever. The ag equipment technician program, I would definitely recommend. That's also in high demand. We have students that have worked for small implement, like your local mom and pop implement dealers, to places like Caterpillar in West Branch. So we've had a lot of different experiences that we've been able to provide for students that therefore led to full-time employment for them. Let's see, I'm trying to think of maybe some other careers that maybe haven't been mentioned yet. You could teach. We need teachers. That's definitely a thing. That's what I ended up doing after I came here to MCC. But yeah, there's a large multitude of jobs that are available out there. If you want to wear a lab coat, you can do that. If you want to do research, we can make that happen too. But if you're looking for a lot of the jobs that are available for a 2-year student with an associate's degree, there's a lot out there too. Not always does moving up in the world, quote unquote, always necessarily mean that you have to achieve higher education. There have been a lot of students who have been able to go out there and have already, since my time here at MCC, which was just started 6 years ago, have already moved their way up into a managerial or supervisory position, starting from, an entry level. So if you think, oh, well, if I don't get a 4-year, if I don't get a 6-year, well, then I'll never be a manager. Well, guess what? The folks that do end up getting hired as managers and hired as supervisors are going to be those ones who have actually worked from the bottom and worked their way up through the company, because that's where that volume or that character of really understanding the field and the work, et cetera, really comes in handy. So again, the opportunities are endless. I feel like I keep putting the question off, Carrie, but I could chat all day.
Oh, that's great.
For the turf and landscape too, we've got our first year of graduates coming out this year.
Yeah.
We've got one that's going straight into an assistant superintendent at a golf course. We've got some that are going to work for local municipalities, like on the soccer complex, things like that. We've got people working in the nursery industry. So in that field, you can go wherever you want to too. You can start off right at an assistant superintendent, which is pretty much what everybody starts off for, even if you have a bachelor's. And they're finding the hands-on skills we're giving them just as valuable as that bachelor's. So if you want to go into golf course, if you want to go into sports field management, you can go right in at that beginning management level with an associate's and really just climb your way and do whatever you want to go from there. So like everybody keeps saying, it's really what you want to do. You kind of just set your own path on how hard you want to work and where you want to go with your future in agriculture.
Thanks for adding that, Shane. You'll have to excuse me. The turf and landscape program is still relatively new, so I don't have as many anecdotes. Thanks, Shane.
You guys have thrown out a lot of like different types of careers and everything like that. So what's kind of the salary range or pay students can expect in those different career areas you've mentioned?
Sure. So I think it really all depends. That can in and of itself range tremendously. So if you're interested in production agriculture, obviously that's going to depend on, so if you end up going and working for a farmer, I mean, it's going to be kind of up to that farmer and that operation, depending on the size of the farm, just how much that they're going to be able to pay. And then also some other things to consider with the pay as well. Is just keeping in mind too, like your experiences that you take with you have a big impact on the pay that you earn. There will be a lot of employers out there that will pay a little bit more for a good person that knows what they're doing and knows and has experience, which is why, again, we value those internship experiences so much. But Julia, Shane, feel free to hop in here at any point in time. But I know just from my experiences, there have been students who have been able to go out there and get positions ranging from anywhere between $12 to $15 an hour. Now, I think that's probably just from my point of that's just me. I don't know anybody else. Does anybody have anything to add to that? It's about $12 to $15, really all depending on what it is.
I think that's a lot of the internship wages. I feel like most of the full-time wages are going to be higher than that. So
Okay.
$17,20 even isn't untypical. So I would say $35,000 to $40,000 is maybe, it's not necessarily an average because it definitely depends on the skill and experience, like she was saying. But that might be somewhere we kind of suggest as a starting point for some students, depending on their role. And then a lot of students will work overtime. Well, once you work in the industry, if you're on full time, there's usually an option for overtime.
Right.
And so you could increase that very significantly if you chose to work that or had the option to work that.
Mm-hmm.
On the turf and landscape side, what I'm hearing from the students that are graduating here in a couple weeks, anywhere from 30 to 45, 50 is where they're starting out. And that's obviously on the salary range. And that would be for like your golf course superintendent, assistant superintendent, and some of those type of areas.
Julia, can you talk a little bit about, you're talking about, all of you are talking about the experiences you bring and the hands-on experience you have. So if you don't live on a family farm, if you have no experience, which some of our students do already, what kind of experience do they get if they were to choose to come to MCC for the ag program?
What kind of experiences could they get? Is that what you said? Yeah. So a large number of our students don't have any agricultural background. So we're talking, and these instructors have agricultural experience, but a lot of students do not. A lot of our students haven't even had agriculture in high school. So those of you listening to this probably have a step up because you have the option to take that somewhere, but it's not a requirement by any means to come into an agricultural program with ag background. So you do kind of jump in, head first, and you just start learning really quickly if you don't have as much of a background, but we kind of provide scaffolding to kind of catch you up to where you could be so that you can learn and come away with the essential skills that you need. So some of the experiences that we're going to provide you, like Jayln said, you can have the internship experience Every single one of our programs has an internship. Some of them have up to 4 internships, and that's a good resume builder. You're coming out with as many internships as you would have if you were at a university. So those are the hands-on where you can learn some of those skills outside of that. Other opportunities that we do. So for example, in the summer, we have a summer session and we go out and we do some crop scouting where you can do identification of pests, or you can look at plant health, you can look at nutrient needs. So it's kind of science-based, but we do some scouting there. We use some technology like a drone and different apps and things to collect that data. On the livestock side, the courses visit livestock production units. And so whether we're going through and visiting, a Tyson processing plant, whether we're going to a South facility, which obviously we respect biosecurity and things when we do those. Maybe it's a feedlot specifically that we're going to learn about different production methods. Shane takes the students out all the time to do different activities, and he can speak on that too. For the turf and landscape side, we have speakers come in and offer the opportunities to, number one, hear about businesses and what they do and how they're hiring, so that students can get a bigger perspective of the ag industry. As you can tell today, there's just a lot of different options available. Do you want to work with technology? Do you want to work with, plant science? Do you want to work with animal science? What do you want to work with? And so they share those opportunities there. And then we offer some extracurricular activities as well to get students engaged. So a lot of high school students might have FFA available to them. We have the professional ag student organization. And so students can participate in contests. We generally, with the last year exception, travel for those a few times a year so that you can meet students from other colleges and network as well and do different career events. So there's lots of things that we do. I don't know if that fully answers your question, Carrie, but we try to give you lots of experiences and make the college experience fun so that you know what's out there for you.
So kind of have a 2-part question for all of you. First one is, what do you enjoy most about what you do? And then the flip side of that, what are some challenges that you face?
I can go first. What do I love? Well, one of the things that I love about it, what I love about working in the agriculture industry is that we kind of mentioned this earlier on in our session, is that it's always changing. Like the days, day in and day out, you might have a different set of problems to solve, a different set of information, updated technology, new practices, the agriculture industry is just constantly updating and changing. And that's one of the reasons why I actually pursued agriculture, is because I didn't want to get bored. And so agriculture is not going to leave you bored. Agriculture is going to be an industry that's never going to go away. And it's going to be one of those industries that's constantly changing and is going to be dynamic and flex and ebb and flow depending on the needs of consumers, depending on environmental factors, depending on technology, depending on the economy. So many different things impact and kind of flow through that agriculture industry backbone that really holds the globe together, I guess I should say. And that's what I really love about working in agriculture, is that you can be engaged in the agriculture industry and it can look really different from day to day. And the role that you play in the ag industry can be very different. I think the stat is like 1 out of every 3 or 4 jobs is connected to the agriculture industry. So just being a part of something so big and so influential, and that's always changing, is just something that's super exciting for me. One of the struggles with the ag industry, or what makes it difficult, is that and I kind of mentioned this prior too, is just finding people. There's a lot of a lot of illiteracy surrounding agriculture, a lot of fallacies to correct, a lot of sometimes barriers to kind of jump through or break through in regards to making agriculture seem like an appealing industry to go into. So thank you, first off, to the few of you who actually joined us this hour and actually show an interest, because that's one of the things that's probably the biggest struggle for me, is just getting more people involved. Because like I said before, we just need to get more people involved in the ag industry and become literate about the ag industry. Because like I said, this industry is never going to go away. And the more people that we can have involved and informed and engaged in the industry, then the better off we're all going to be, frankly. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's my high and low.
Shane, Julia, do you have anything to add?
Really, Jayln hit what I was thinking too, but yeah, I just love the day-to-day change. That you're never doing the same thing repetitively over and over and over. You know, you've got your seasons, you've got, you know, even like I said, just time of day, I do things different. And I love the creativity that you're allowed to be inventive and do things differently and try things, because I'm one that I get bored. So I want to try different things, and I want to try different ways of doing things. And I love that availability.
I also agree. Agriculture is never the same, and you get to change and learn something new. So I would never want to be in a career where basically you're doing the same thing every day. And some people would love that. They like the routine. But even though we might go to class every day, we know that every content is going to change every year due to the nature of the industry. We also go out and visit our students on internships. And that's what we do right now for the next 6 weeks. So that's always fun. Every student is different. We get to know every business is different that we get to know. And so we get to see the big picture of agriculture, which not everyone gets to do. You get to enjoy the outdoors if you want to, which I enjoy doing. I don't like being inside all the time. And then, yeah, just challenges, obviously, getting the students into the program / getting enough people interested, fixing those misconceptions about agriculture, because there are a lot of them, and sometimes dealing with those stereotypes can be difficult. And then obviously some aspects of agriculture are very unpredictable. They're very tied to weather. They're very tied to government, you know, whatever it might be. So sometimes it's unpredictable, but that can make it a little bit fun and challenging at the same time.
So what are some, besides a degree or education, are there any specific like certification, special training that is good to have? I know it probably depends on the field, but anything else that students should be thinking about?
Sure. So I brought this one up a little bit earlier in our discussion, the applicator's license. If you're really interested in you know, production agriculture, or working at a golf course, or working in a greenhouse, that pesticide management or pest management is a huge component of that. So having that certification or that licensure to use chemicals safely and take care of those pests safely, that's a huge certification, which again, like I said, we offer the opportunity to take that test within the program. Another certification or licensure that's been a huge one from advisory is your CDL. Having your CDL is something that has been it's been a very large request, a very loud request, I should say, especially from local retail agribusinesses as well as local producers. So having that CDL, being able to drive semi, being able to drive a manual, back up a trailer, etc., are skills that they're looking for. And then another certification, which Julia can kind of speak to this one a little bit more than I can, just because that's more of her wheelhouse, but the CCA certification. So if you're really interested in agronomy, the Certified Crop Advisor certification is also another one that you could start working towards or striving towards. But the way that you earn that particular type of certification, you can't just earn it here at MCC. It's something that is combined with some tests and just longevity of experience, which we can't all do, you know, in 2 years at MCC. So that's just another one. Julia, you can feel free to kind of add to that as you see fit. But those are the 3 that I can think of. I don't know, Shane, is there any particular ones for the TNL or hemp side of things?
That pesticide license is really our biggest one. And obviously there's a lot of skills that we've mentioned, but for actual certification, that's our biggest one we focus on. Just being able to send you out in the industry and be able to legally control pests is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say it totally depends on the industry that you're going into. So for some folks in agriculture, they would have no need for a pesticide certification or a CDL. But once again, it just depends on the industry that you're going into. You could have like food sanitation, depending on if you're in the food science or food service industry, which is definitely agriculture as well. Like OSHA certifications are for safety. So if you're working for a lot of manufacturers, businesses that are working with equipment, outdoors, etc., even some of like our feed mills might require you to have OSHA, which they provide that usually on site through their employment opportunity, but just know that's there. But yeah, driving record is a big one. So although you don't, you guys can get a driver's license when you're 16, but maintaining a clean driving record is kind of impactful for some folks. So even if you wanted to go into sales or management, let's say a business was offering you a vehicle, a lot of students, once they reach employment, might have a company vehicle they can drive if you're doing sales or delivery. And that's a perk to the job. But if you don't have a clean driving record, then that is not going to be awarded to you. So those are a few other things kind of just related to certifications that you could do. Like Jayln said, with the certified crop advisor, that's something that pretty much all folks, if you're in management or higher level agronomy, will receive if you put in the work and the time. We offer some training on it. You can take the test while you're with us, but it does require a few years of industry experience. And so you would build that on top of your experience here. And then a lot of you, if you're working with livestock, already have to do the quality assurance program. So BQA, PQA, beef report quality assurance. That's something that most of you have to do if you're showing livestock already. But obviously, if you're selling at certain places or working with that, that might be a certification that you need to market your livestock.
What kind of classes would you encourage high school students to have if they can take, whether high school or college classes that they could take before they start their higher education in agriculture?
Well, I would start, if you can take agriculture classes, do that. Number one, you can find out if it's even an interest area for you. Number two, it can give you some of that base knowledge that you have. Maybe you choose not to because you want to focus on other areas, and that is fine too. But if you like the technical or trades, so if you like welding, if you like diesel, if you can take any classes in that area, depending on what your interest is, that can be applied in a lot of agricultural settings. If you're more like gearing towards the business side of things, whether there's finance or accounting based courses that you could take to kind of help you have that base knowledge before you come in, economics as well. If there's any college level classes you can take in high school related to English or math or the social sciences, those are helpful in any degree because those can help get you those kind of gen ed requirements. But if you're not talking about college classes specifically, ag or even biology and the sciences, biology and chemistry are related very closely to ag. That's the base knowledge as well. So those would be good too.
And math is a big one for our industries. The turf and landscape does a lot of different things just day to day that are very math heavy. So if you could brush up on those algebra and geometry skills, that's always really important and relatable.
So are there any kind of, like you mentioned, taking classes to get a great idea if you're interested in this field, are there any kind of like job shadows, internship opportunities, things like that students can experience either before they get in your program or during the time in your program?
Sure. So yeah, I see Drew has an FFA mask on. So obviously FFA is a great way to kind of get exposed to the different career opportunities and just kind of get that exposure to agriculture and the industry, and just kind of getting an idea of where you could fit into that, like where your role could be within the industry. I think that that's great, from national convention to state convention to various contests, etc. Are great ways to just kind of dive in and get that exposure. I also highly, highly, highly encourage a job shadow. A job shadow can be very influential and have a huge impact on how you perceive and how you think about yourself in the agriculture industry or whatever your future goals could be. So I highly encourage job shadows. I know that a lot of schools, at least my high school did, had some job shadow days where they would allow you to like miss a day to go on a job shadow. If you have somebody that you know that you're like, hey, I kind of wonder what their life is like, or hey, they work at Kent Feeds, like I want to know, like, what do they do there? You know, obviously with the pandemic and everything like that, we need to be cognizant of that. But if that opportunity does, if that opportunity does present itself, I totally 100% recommend it. And then as we kind of said before, you know, obviously when you come here to MCC, you'll have even more opportunity to kind of explore and get engaged in the industry, you know, through PAS, our professional ag students organization, as well as through the internships that you'll be taking. So the great cool thing about those internships is that it's not just us telling you, oh, hey, you're going to go here. You know, it's very much a collaborative effort where we ask you the question of what do you want to learn? Like, what do you want to be exposed to? Like, what are the things that you're trying to get out of this experience? And then we do our best to try to find that connection and try to find that placement's going to be beneficial for you and for your learning. So lots of opportunities there, especially through professional organizations, and just putting yourself out there and network with people. See if you can get a job shadow. Ask people about their jobs. I mean, heck, just coming here today is a great example of the things that you could be doing to get some more exposure to the industry.
Yes, and I'll add to that. So through the organization that's putting this on, or Eastern Iowa, we can help you find some job shadows. So if that's something that's of interest to you, as a high school student, we can kind of help maybe connect you with that. So if you're like, hey, I really want to do XYZ, but I don't know where to go, we have a large network of employers and people that we work with within the industry that we can help you with that job shadow. Depending on, there are some restrictions for high schoolers on internships, but you might have like work-based learning opportunities or student-based learning opportunities through your high school that you could do as well. But once you get to us, those internships are required. Now, if you went to another institution or maybe you went straight onto a university, there are not always internships built into your curriculum. So I would still strongly recommend that in the summer you get an internship, because pretty much everyone in the agricultural industry at this point has internships, and they should be paid internships as well because of the demand for the marketplace. So not every career area has paid internships, but agriculture does. So make sure that you're looking for those paid opportunities. Pretty much every business around here probably will hire an intern at some point, whether it's during the season, like fall and spring, or during their summer as well.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, I just, for last thoughts from Shane, Jayln, or Julia, do you have a really good piece of advice, or one piece of advice you'd give a student who is looking into the ag field? What would you tell them?
I feel like I already said mine. Go do job shadows, go ask questions, go network, get yourself out of your comfort zone. All great things. But yeah, there's mine, to repeat mine.
Great. How about you, Shane?
I think I'd really just say jump at it. You know, just you've got to try and start somewhere. So jump in, see what you think of it. And if nothing else, even if you don't like it, you learn something. So don't be afraid to try something new and not like it, because that's the only way we find out what we really like. So
Awesome.
take those opportunities.
Agree. I'm going to build on top of that. So in the agricultural industry, the degree that you have doesn't matter so much as in the title. So you can kind of move it wherever. So don't get paralyzed thinking that once you get this degree, you have to go into that industry forever. You know, you can work in the crop side with an animal science degree. You can work on the animal science side with a crops degree. You can work in business without a business degree. You can do a lot of things. And the degree does not necessarily always matter so much. It's more like we've said, those experiences that you get along the way, and the internships or experiences that you can build and bring forward. So don't worry about those things so much as the experiences that you get, the people that you meet when you go through.
That's such a good piece of advice, Julia. Yeah, don't let the title of your degree tie you down. You know, don't think, oh, well, I have an AAS in farm management, like I can't go sell. No, like, yes, of course you can. It's all about the experiences, and the experiences that you get and how beneficial they're going to be is based off of just like what Shane said, how much you put into it. Like, do you jump into it? Do you put yourself out of that comfort zone? Do you put yourself out there to try those things and get those experiences? Because in the end, it's not going to matter so much the title of your degree, but what's the contents of your resume? What experiences have you had?
Great pieces of advice. Students, does anyone have any questions? Any thoughts? You can unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat box. It's after lunch, I know. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Students, thank you for coming. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Instructors, thank you so much for giving up your afternoon to do this. We really appreciate it. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.